Welcome, guys. Welcome to Automation Campus. Guys, in this module, we will discuss how to set up Selenium RC on a system, and we also gonna do a basic test using some of the web elements in this tutorial, right? So, guys, before moving on, let's discuss what Selenium RC is, right? So, and what are the features Selenium RC gives us? Right. So as you can see on the screen, Selenium RC requires a server to be started, right? I'm going to show you how we can start a server, right? And there are a couple of issues that are related to Selenium RC, like JavaScript injects. I'm beg your pardon. Selenium RC injects JavaScript code into the browser, which makes sometimes the execution slower, right? And but there are few exciting features that we still use Selenium RC, or why we use Selenium RC, right? Primarily the reason is like it supports multiple browser, right? You can customize your code, right? You can program or you can develop your scripts in any of your favorite languages, like be it Java, C Sharp, Perl, like, so whichever language you are comfortable with, you can write your scripts using that language, right? Now, before moving on, let me just go to Selenium's website and explore some of the docs related to Selenium RC, right? So for that, we will go to seleniumhq.org, right? Now, under that, we will go to the downloads tab. Okay, and we'll go to the Java docs. Okay, now we will search for a word called Selenium or a class Selenium here. Where is Selenium? Okay, here is it. Now, as you can see, basically Selenium is an interface. You must I must tell you guys that Selenium, basically we have to create an object of Selenium, right? And that object has some methods which helps us in actually interacting with our web application, right? Now Selenium is an interface, so it must be having few classes which are implementing that interface. So you can see, like, there we have two classes, right? WebDriver backed Selenium and default Selenium, and what all functions are being provided to us by this interface, right? So you can find various functions, various methods that helps us in interacting with the application. For example, you have click, right? This method is provided to us by the Selenium interface, right? So we gonna explore many methods which helps us in actually interacting with an application, right? Now, before moving on to the actual coding part of Selenium RC, I'm gonna tell you, like, what all softwares and what all different components that we need, right, to set up the Selenium RC. Okay. Now, in order to set up Selenium RC, we should be having Firefox on our system, right? Now, and for that, and on Firefox, we need two add-ons, right? What two add-ons are? Let me just show you. Just go to the google.com, and in here type download Firebug, right? Just click on this link. So guys, Firebug is basically an add-on to Firefox, right? It's opening up, right? So as you can see, it's giving me a link, add to Firefox. So in order to add this add-on to Firefox, just click on this link, right? It will get added, right? So once it will get added, you will see a bug like icon over here, right? Okay, now once this is done, you will search for another add-on, which is Fire Path. And just in the same way we have added Firebug, just add Firepath as well. Basically, Firepath will get installed onto Firebug. So unless you don't have Firebug on your system, you won't be able to add Firepath, right? So make sure you have Firebug installed, then only you will be able to add Firepath, right? So what is the purpose of these two add-ons? I'm gonna tell you in a while when we'll move to the coding part, right? Okay, so what is our next requirement? Guys, we need to download the IDE so that we can write our Java code. We'll download Eclipse, right, which is basically a IDE for Java developers, right? Just go on to this link and go over this link, Eclipse IDE for Java EE developers, and then select the architecture of your window, whether it's a 64-bit window or a 32-bit window. Mine is 32-bit, so I'm gonna click Windows 32-bit mode. Right, so it's gonna give you a pop-up, right? Since I'm already having Eclipse, so I'm not gonna download it, right? So when you will download it, you will have something like this, a RAR file, right? Just extract it and you have a folder like this, Eclipse. Just go under that folder and click on this icon, Eclipse, right? So it won't get installed onto your system. Once you click on it, you will have something like this appearing up, right? Okay, so as you can see, it's a fresh workspace. So I'm going to click on this welcome, or I should close this welcome page, right? Now we have our IDE ready. Now guys, Selenium RC is not a tool, it's basically an API. Now what is an API? Basically, API is a set of libraries that contains the definition of the classes, definition of the various methods that helps us in implementing or interacting with an applications. That all the methods we saw here are being implemented in those libraries, right? So how we can actually import or we can import those libraries or APIs in our project. For that, we'll go to the Selenium under the Downloads tab. Just click on this link, download version 2.42.2 under the Selenium server section, right? Just click on this link. So it will give you another pop-up to download, right? Just save it on your system. Once you will download it, just go to the downloads folder, right? So there you will have something like this, right? Selenium server standalone 2.42.1, right? So all the prerequisites that we need, or what all different type of libraries or softwares do we need for a Selenium RC setup, it's all done, right? So now we'll see how we can actually start to work with Selenium RC, right? Now just go to the Eclipse, right? Just cancel the unnecessary stuff, right? Just click on this link and select a Java project. Click on next right? Specify the name of your project. Let me just specify Selenium RC. Okay, and just click on finish. Yes. Right. So you can see on the left side or the left window pane that a project with name SeleniumRC has been created. Right. Now our next step would be to import those libraries or APIs into our project. Right. So just click on source. Right click on source. Go to build path. Configure build path. Then go to the libraries. Click on this button, add external jars. Right now navigate to the folder where you have downloaded those Selenium jars. Right. Okay, so here we are. These are my jars. Let me just click on this. Right, and just click OK. So as you can see, you have attached the API or the libraries for your Selenium RC project. Right. Okay, so guys, as we know that to work in Java we have to create a class, right? So my next step would be to create a class in which I'll write my code for Selenium, right? Let me create a class. Just right click on source. You will see a menu like this. Go to the new option and under that select a class. Right. Just specify the name or your for your class. Let me specify the name as module 1. Right, just click this checkbox for main. Okay, just click on finish. Right, so we have our class ready. Okay, so guys, like we discussed earlier, in order to work with Selenium we have to start a server, right? So my first statement for this code or for this class would be to start or instantiate an object for Selenium server. Selenium server is equals to new. Right, so as you can see I have instantiated a server object for the class Selenium server. Now it's actually giving me an error. It must be saying like Selenium server cannot be resolved to a type, right? Now guys, in order to import various libraries into your class, right, we need to use the import statement, right? And the good thing about Eclipse is if you like mouse over of this statement which is called giving you the error, it will give you the several options. Right, now in order to counter this problem we just click on import Selenium server, and the definition of these server or this class is available in the jars that we have attached in the project. Right, right, the definition of this class is available in these jars, right, that we have added. Okay, now it's giving me another error. It's saying like unhandled exception. So let me again mouse over the statement. Okay, right, so let me just surround my this block with try and catch to counter the exception problem. Right, see the problem is gone. Right, okay, now my next step would be to start this server. To start this server my statement would be server dot start. Right, Now we have using this statement we have started a server, right? Now my next step would be to create an object for the Selenium interface, because we discussed earlier and we saw that in the Java docs that Selenium interface provide all the various functions that helps us in interacting with the web application, right? So in order to interact with an application, we need to instantiate an object for Selenium, right? So we're gonna do that. Selenium, let me just give the name as SEL, right? Now guys, we need to instantiate this Selenium object using one of its implementing classes. Now as we saw, one of its implementing classes was default Selenium, right? So I'm gonna instantiate using default Selenium. Let me just do that. New default Selenium, and it actually intakes 4 arguments. So let me just provide those, and after that I'll tell you like what they are, right? Right guys, so this is how we have instantiated a Selenium object. Okay, it's giving me an error. What is the error? Selenium cannot be resolved to a type, right? So if I go to Selenium, it will say like import Selenium, right? And I'll do the same for default Selenium, right? So it's again actually throwing an error. Okay, we have mistakenly put a full stop instead of the comma, right? So guys, using this statement I have instantiated a Selenium object, right? Now if I have to start this Selenium server as well. Okay, sorry guys, I just missed that. What were these 4 arguments? Guys, the first argument is that where is our Selenium server running? So it's actually running on my system only. So I'll provide the address as localhost, and Selenium server always starts on port 4444. So this is the port number, right? I'll be running my test on Firefox. So this is the browser, right? And to which address I want to navigate, right? So this is the address or the URL of my application, right? So these are the 4, I must say, the arguments that you have to provide to this default Selenium constructor, right? Okay, now we have started the Selenium object. Now we need to open up Selenium. I'm gonna tell you like what is the purpose of this open statement in a while, right? Just thread dot sleep, right? So that I'm giving some timeout so that you can see like what actually happened, right? Let me just save this and let me give it a run. It's taking time, right? So guys, the first window that got opened up is basically for the Selenium server, which contain all the logs. And as you can see underneath that, there is another browser which is for Gmail, the application URL that we provided, right? So these are the 2 windows that will open up. One is for the server, right, which is a default for Selenium RC, and this is the application that we want to access, right? Okay, so as you can see, the application that I want to access is quite minimized and you are not able to see it properly. Now how can we handle this thing, right? Okay, now in order to do that, let me just show you something, guys, before I actually handle that problem of maximizing the window, right? I just wanted to highlight something here. Let me just run this test again, okay? And you guys see on the console some of the issues coming up. See, right? It said fail to start socket listener, right? This time the test didn't run. And the reason for that is in our code we didn't stop the server, right? Every time we run a test, it's mandatory that we have to manually or we have to put a statement that will stop the Selenium server. Otherwise, the next time our test won't run, right? So in order to stop the server and the Selenium server, we have to specify a few commands like cell dot close, right? Next command would be cell dot stop, right? And my final command would be to stop the server, which would be server dot stop, right? So these are the three mandatory steps that we need at the end of our test. Otherwise, the next time the test won't run. It will say the server is already running and it cannot start a new server, right? Okay. Now in order to maximize the application that we were trying to access, we have to put in a new command which is cell.window maximize, right? And next would be to bring it on focus, as there were two windows, which one we want to focus, will specify cell.window focus, right? Okay, so let me just save it and run it again. Okay, it's again running. So how we can handle that thing, guys? In order to do that, you need to navigate to an URL. My bad, right? Mm, to stop Selenium server. Okay, just go over to this URL, guys. It will say okay. So that means your server was running and now it has stopped, right? So if we now run our test, it will run. Okay, so Gmail has opened up and now this time it got maximized and it came into focus. Like, I mean, the Selenium server window got hidden behind it and it is the one which is in focus, right? Okay, and this time it got closed automatically because we have specified the commands, right? So the that was the purpose of these commands, right? Now guys, let's do a simple test where we try to log in into the Gmail using Selenium server, and in this test I'm going to tell you the purpose of Firebug and Firepath that we installed, right? Let me just go to Gmail. Right. Now just guys, if I have to interact with any of the web element, I should be able to somehow, like, I should be having some sort of identifier to identify that element in my script, right? So here we do that using the XPath. We fetch the XPath of that particular web element, and our script interact with that element using the XPath provided by us, right? So let me just show you how that is done. Just go to the Firebug icon that you have installed, click on Firebug, right? So there are a couple of tabs. Just go to the Firepath tab, right? Now click on this button. As you can see, inspect element button. Click on it and then click on the element whose XPath you want to fetch. So I'm clicking on this email input box, right? So here is my XPath. Just ignore the dot in the starting and copy rest of it. Just copy it. Okay. So guys, in order to type into a edit box, what should be my command? So it's cell dot type, right? So as you can see, there are two arguments, right? So first argument is basically for the identifier, right? So our identifier is our XPath. So I'm going to provide the XPath here, and the second parameter is the value that I want to put into that edit box, right? For example, let me just write here as abc@gmail.com, right? So in the same way, let me just copy this statement, because we have another edit box, so our statement will do, right? But we need to specify the identifier for that edit box, right? So let me fetch the edit or the XPath for the second edit box, which is for the password, right? So the XPath for password edit box is this. Again, I'm gonna copy till the, or just, it's not getting copied. Okay, I'm ignoring the dot and copying the rest of the XPath, right? Okay, so these two steps will basically enter these value in the username edit box and the password edit box. Now I have to click on the click button. Cell, for that I'll provide the command as cell dot click, and I'll provide the XPath for that particular button. What's wrong? Okay, I missed the semicolon. Let me just provide in some weight so that you can see it. Let me just put in a wait of 5 seconds, right? Okay, let me just clear the console, save, and let me run it. Right, so it's our server window. So Gmail is opening up. It got maximized. It will wait for 5 seconds, right? It input the values and clicked on the sign in button. So since it's not a valid email and password, so it got failed, right? It's waiting for like 10 seconds and finally it got closed, right? So guys, this is how we create our test using various web elements. We specify their XPaths, we specify the values, right? So in this test we basically handled two different type of web elements. One was the added box and the other one was the button, right? So in the next module we gonna discuss some of the different elements, how we can handle different type of elements like checkboxes, how we can insert the validations in our test, right? How we can fetch various type of controls, right? How can we dynamically determine an element, right? So basically we will do all the stuff in the next modules, right? So thanks for watching video. Thanks guys.